Hello, in this session we are gonna discuss about the scope rules for the variables in Java. There is a major rule related to that, which is to say whenever we have a local variables and global variables, always the local variables will have an advantage and priority over the global variables. In this example, we can see that there is a global variable called x, and it's a global variable because it's initialized outside any of the methods within the class. It can be as a static or non-static variables. For in the main, we can see that we have another x as well, which is initialized to 10. Now, whenever we do something like this, we're not going to get an error because this x is going to be a local variable for the main, and it will get a priority over the global variables. So in this example, whenever we are trying to print the value of x, this one will definitely going to give us 10 because locally we have a variable called x. However, whenever we are going to call test, in the test method, we can see that we don't have any local variables called x. So the only way to, or the only option that we have for x is the global variable, which is going to be 100. So for this part, we will get 10, while for this part, we will get 100. So if we hit run, we will see that the first one is going to be 10, while the second one is going to be 100. Now, if we would do a small modification right here, just to enable a certain kind of an update in the project and in the value for the x. So whenever we are going to update when we call update x, of course, we're going to call a method which is called update, and we will pass the value x. Here, whenever we're passing value x, which means we are passing 10, not 100, because again, locally we will have a variable called x, and it has the value of 10. Then we are going to print after update, and then x in the main is equal to whatever we have here. Now, regardless what will happen inside update, this one is not going to be fixed or will not be updating the local variable. So still right here, we will get the value of 10. Now, if we call test again when I go to test, this test is not going to update the global variable. If we go to update x, which is available right here, we say that x plus plus, and this is implemented only for the local x. So the local x, since I'm passing 10 from here into here, this one will become 11. However, this is not related to this one because this is going to be the x that related to update, while this x is the one which is related to main. So updating this x or modifying this x within the update method will not going to affect the original one. Okay, because this is going to be like initializing a copy. So it's going to be exactly like I call this one as an A, for example. So whenever I change A, X is not going to be changed. And this is actually the same whenever we are talking about any primitive data type like char or int or long or boolean or float or double. Now, if we will try now another scenario, which is gonna be something looks like this. Now, whenever I call update right in here does not receive any variable, which means I don't have locally any variable called x. So that means whenever I say x plus plus, that means I'm accessing the one which is global, which means the one which is 100, now it will become as 101. Now, whenever I return from here and I say that after update, the value of x will be, it's still the 10. Why it's not the 101 again? Because locally I have a variable called x and the value for it is going to be as a 10. And I did not do any update locally for the local x that I have. Now, whenever I'm gonna call test instead, this test will go to here. Again, whenever I say that the x in the test method is gonna be equal to the x, which is the global x, and this one will give me the 101. So if I hit run, you can see that this x right here, it will be 10 again, while this x right here is the one which is 101. Okay, now if we give it another test to see that update within the main. So whenever I'm gonna update within the main, what exactly will happening is, again here I'm gonna print 10, but now whenever I say x plus plus, that means I'm gonna update this x, which is the local x. So that means x now locally is gonna be equal to 11 at this particular stage. So now I want to say that after the update, what's going to be the value for x? Of course, now it's going to be as an 11. And now when I call the test, global variable still 100. So when I call test, test will say x in the test method is equal to the x. Since I don't have any local x, so the only option again is the global one, which means it's going to print the 100 to me. So that means this program will print 11 as in the main, while in the test method it will become as the 100. Now, let's check together another example to get a better understanding for this area. Now, right in here, whenever I have this three variables is a global variables. However, I can create them in the beginning, I can create them in the end, or I can create them anywhere in the middle. But the idea is they are in the class outside any of the methods. So now, whenever I create any variable in this area, which is in the class, but outside any of the methods, that means this is going to be as a global variable. So these are global variables, and this one also as a global variable. So that's me. Inside the main, what exactly the global and the local variables to me? We can see that num x, right away I have these as a local variables, so we will consider them as a local variables. Okay, now whenever I'm gonna call about the global variables, I have rate, I have z, I have t, and also the w. So these are the local and the global variables I can access within the main. Now if I go to the method 1, method 1 have a local variable which are x and y, because the parameters they are going to consider it as a local variable. So we can see here, whenever we are going to do something like this, x and y, they are going to be my local variables. So whenever I'm going to use x or y within this method, I'm referring to the x in the parameter and the y in the parameter. Now about the global variables that I can access, it's again the rate, the z, t, and the w. Now if I go to another method, which is method 2, I have 1, I have z, and I have char. Now the local variable, they are going to be 1, z, and char. Now if we take a look now to the global variable, I'm accessing rate, which is this one, I'm accessing t, which is this one. I'm accessing also w, which is this one. Why? Because I don't have any variables which having the same name. However, if we take a look to this z, I cannot access this global variables anymore. Why? Because locally I have a variable called z. Okay, so this z is the z which is belong to 2, not the z which is the global variable. Okay, now within method 2, I have a block. Whatever this block is, even if it's an empty block, even if it's not belong to f or for or y, I have here a variable called b, and b I will make it equal to 12. Now this b is going to be recognized only within this area, only within this area. So that's mean the local variable within this area are the same as that I have for the whole method, which is ch1 z, and additionally to that, which is going to be b. So it's very similar to this one, but in addition, within this block, I will have b. Now, for the global variables, once again, the rate, t, and w, which are this one, and this one, and this one. Again, I don't have z because within the method itself, I have a local variable called z. Now, the interesting part, whenever this is finished, B does not actually recognize here. So here Java will say that if I try to access B, Java will not gonna recognize B anymore at the line number 40. Now, then, if I initialize a new variable called A now, since I create this A, now you can see that at this, if we compare between line 42 and 30, we can see that we are accessing ch because it's a local variable. We can access 1 because it's a local variable. We can access the local z, not the global one. And only right here I can access A. Why? Because as a sequence, A is recognized only after line 41, not before. And the global variables will be the rate, t, and w, like in any other stage. Okay, so this is exactly how we're gonna deal with the scope rule. Thank you very much for listening. See you later.